substances in front of people. Could you talk through that again? Could you just restate that, Kratom's addictive nature as compared to the other substances you named? Could you just restate that? I'd like to hear that again.
There's nothing, I think, particularly exceptional about the addictive capacity of Kratom or 7-hydroxymytrogynine, because developing substance use disorder is what I'm trying to highlight is that it's a human response. If I give you a psychoactive substance, you respond to it in a particular way. Different people have different things. There are folks who use Kratom who simply don't like it. There are folks who use 7-hydroxy who simply don't like it. So there's nothing particularly exceptional about either one.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hang on just a second. Representative Sims, you didn't get off that easy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your testimony today. If you were just out of curiosity were to give us a sense of the potency of one leaf of Kratom, could you compare that to something else?
So this is me being a scientist. Bear with me. Potency, you'll hear a lot about, like something binds X number of times more. That's binding affinity. That's just how well it sticks into a receptor. All right? Potency is what it actually does. So if I walk up and I take a molecule and it has high potency, it has high binding affinity, that just means it binds to the receptor really well. It doesn't say what it does. Naloxone, for example, is a life-saving medication I use all the time. Naloxone binds very, very, very strongly, about 10 times stronger than 7-hydroxymytrogynine into the receptor. But it makes you breathe. It helps you breathe. It saves your life. So Kratom, to compare it against things, it's about, the people who use it, it's about one quarter of what morphine does. Now, 7-hydroxy's a little bit different. Nobody really has a good sense of what the neurobehavioral effects are. And I don't mean to stray into doctor language here, but we don't have a good sense of what it is. What I can tell you is that you have to be very, very, very careful with the language, because a lot of people on any issue are going to hope that you may not be the best pharmacodynamics expert in the world, and they're relying on that. So, everything that I've told you up to this point is supported by the medical literature. If you want references, I will get them to you. But the potency is not as great as advertised. And specific to 7-hydroxymytrogynine's potency, I can't tell you about what people experience because we don't have that data yet. What I can tell you is that if you just do binding studies, the binding curves, the activity curves for 7-hydroxymytrogynine overlay almost exactly with that of buprenorphine, which is a treatment for opioid dependence, and it's also an intervention, at least in England, for acute opioid overdose.
Follow up?
So I feel like I just went to medical school. And so just to get clear, so from your work that you practice, are you supportive of its regulations, or you're just here to just give information?
Ideally, it's here to give information. Here's my take on things, and this is opinion. If you are the sort of person that wants to provide and allow autonomy for individuals to make their own health care decisions, these are relatively good things, because a lot of people don't necessarily want to deal with the cost of pharmaceuticals or the risk of prescription opioids. So, it's regulation is key. If I had to regulate things, I wouldn't let people. I wouldn't. One of the things that really bothers me in the dietary supplement world is that you can have up to 4 servings in a single tablet, and that's just daft, right? I would limit sales minors shouldn't buy any of these things. I would limit sales geographically so that you can't sell them around schools, for example. I wouldn't let them be in front of the counter in sales places and others. I would ban sublingual and oral dissolving forms of 7-hydroxymytrogynine. So I think there's some good common sense things that will provide patient autonomy, which, rightly or wrongly, that's something that I think all of us, even in the medical community, have been gravitating towards in the past several years.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Cock, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for my tardiness. Thank you for your testimony. I did a quick skim over it, and I'm really impressed with your background. I always appreciate when people give testimony to help educate us before we make decisions on legislation. And with that background, I'm curious, in your expertise from 25 years with NIH-funded projects and your medical background, how many years of research and data are best practice before regulating?
I think you can make some decisions based on, you can do it pretty quickly if you've got the adequate data. So it's not a question of time, it's a question of, for lack of a better term, data density. Do we know everything about Kratom? No. Do we know everything about 7-hydroxymytrogynine? No. Do we know enough to introduce some common sense regulation? I think we kind of do. If you look at the National Poison Control Center data, 0 deaths that can clearly be attributed to 7-hydroxymytrogynine. Even those 7 cases in the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, which were released in the form of a press report, not a peer-reviewed publication. Those individuals all either had other substances involved or they had another acutely lethal medical condition. In my practice at Nationwide Children's Hospital, we've had 0 children even exposed to I'm probably jinxing myself now. We've had 0 children even exposed to 7-hydroxymytrogynine products. So, I think we know enough to make some reasonable inferences about where regulation should be.
Follow-up, Chair, if I may.
Follow-up.
Thank you. I know we have a lot of testimony, so I'll try not to be too needy. You said that, of course, you're here as an interested party and not necessarily proponent or opponent, more just here to educate. In your expertise, I think you mentioned that there's enough research to make some changes in some legislation. And do you have any recommendations for what those first steps should be if it's not this bill?
So I have many faults, one of which is I didn't read the legislation before coming today, so I can't tell you precisely what's in it. When I sit around and I look at things, it makes sense to, you don't want to give 4 servings in 1 dosage unit, right? Because if it's let's say if you think you need 2.5 milligrams of something, and you take 4 of them, you're actually getting 10 milligrams. That's an intentional. That's a way to overexpose somebody, and that's not what I think anybody wants. So I think that's an obvious one. I think that I'm a big proponent of limiting sublingual and orally dissolving formulations. I think that's a no-brainer. Nobody injects this stuff, but that's a way that you can get close to injection level concentrations in your blood. So I'd take that away. If I want to think a little bit more politically, I think you could just introduce a tax based on the amount of active ingredient in a formulation. Just drive up the cost. Let economic forces decide. I think we do that in the state already with liquor, right? We tax liquor more than beer. So, I think there are some obvious things. You guys are the experts at developing policy. I could just tell you about the science, but I'm afraid I've run through my list of things that I would do. There's some other things that I've got on there which, are, I think, maybe useful, maybe not.
Any further questions? We appreciate your testimony today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we will have Mac Hadrow, and following him will be Robert Durkin. So the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Mac Haddow. I'm the Senior Fellow on Public Policy with the American Kratom Association, and we appreciate this opportunity. You have a Kratom bill in front of you that seeks to regulate the natural Kratom leaf product and appropriately regulate the formulations of both extracts and for synthetics. The issue I think that you need to separate here is what is Kratom? And I can tell you that 7-OH and the follow-on synthetics are not Kratom, but when the 7-OH manufacturers entered the marketplace in September of 2023, they called it Kratom. Here's the difference. A natural Kratom leaf product has trace amounts of 7-OH in it that act appropriately in the bloodstream and in the body when they're ingested. What the 7-OH manufacturers did is they took that trace amount of 7-OH and they concocted a whole new product by using methods to stimulate the oxidization of the 7-OH. So at the end of the day, you are presented with a product that they call Kratom, and it's not, with its majority of which is 7-OH. And when you ingest it, it hits your liver like a freight train. And that's why, as Dr. Boyer just referenced, the preferred method for product delivery in a 7-OH today is sublingual tablets and film strips. I just purchased them after they denied in California they're not selling those. I purchased them, got them within a week. I used my name and the address of the American Kratom Association, so they're not very careful about what they deliver. That's your problem today. So anything that's called Kratom should have all the limitations in there. If they want to present to you a bill that allows for 7-OH products, not calling them Kratom alkaloids, not marketing them as Kratom, then let them do that. Present that to you, and you can make an informed decision about whether or not this is an appropriate method for delivery of a safe product to citizens of Ohio. 19 states have passed the Kratom Consumer Protection Act in various forms, but they all regulate product formulations and labeling and age restrictions for Kratom because we believe in that. We think as a consumer advocacy organization, that's where you should be. We had a hearing before the Ohio Board of Pharmacy a couple of years ago attempting to ban Kratom, and we had 300 people show up, Ohioans who are trying, I hope I said Ohioans correctly, who are trying to have access to safely formulated products that are helping them in their lives. Today, the Food and Drug Administration has completed a journey that's been terrible because they started out wanting to ban Kratom in 2016. Today, they want to ban 7-OH, and they are not focused on natural leaf products because they have done the scientific studies that demonstrate that the safety profile of natural leaf Kratom products is well tolerated by their own funded studies in humans, and that's where we should rest your position based on science moving forward.
Appreciate your testimony. Excuse me, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for being here. There's quite a few lined up behind you, so we'll make this brief. We're seeing right now entities, whether you can call them bad actors or not, whether they're choosing Kratom or Kratom. I mean, it sounds like we have tomato out there today. And so we have this being just another one in the long list of natural substances like hemp and other things that have been manipulated to be the carrier of an intoxicating-like feature. And my understanding is this bill is going to separate those two and allow legalized Kratom and also regulating anything that becomes intoxicating around the use of Kratom. Do you believe that this bill is where it needs to be right now?
I do. We're open to discussion about other things that will protect consumers. The biggest thing that needs to be done is for everyone making these decisions in your seat, and 45 years ago, I sat in the state legislature, and I understand you've got to take this testimony and absorb it. But the distinction is, do not let these people call a 7-OH product Kratom in any way on their labeling other than what they're required to put on the fact panel, which says how much is in it. Anything above 1 milligram per serving of 7-OH is a chemically manipulated 7-OH product, which has dramatically higher effects than Kratom itself.
Quick follow-up, just briefly. So with that being said, the only piece on here I wanted to know where your thoughts were was on the natural Kratom, with no adjustments, no changes to its chemical nature, being allowed to be purchased by somebody under 18 or under. Where's your thoughts on that?
Should not be allowed. We support age gating at the point of sale, making sure that you verify whatever age you determine to be the appropriate level. We have some states that do 18, some that do 21. I know you're familiar with that argument as to why. That's the bottom line. And most importantly, when a consumer purchases a Kratom product, they're not being deceived, as they have been since August of 2023, in thinking they're buying a Kratom product that is immensely more powerful, that has that affinity, binding affinity to the mu-opioid receptors and delivers a more powerful effect. If you buy a sublingual 7-OH products today, and this was described to me by one of their vendors, it will knock you on your rear end. He was more descriptive about that. But that was what he said. But that's not what we want to sell Kratom products for. That is an intoxicating drug, and we need to stop it.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Robert Durkin. Welcome, Robert. Proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bob Durkin. I'm a food and drug attorney. I'm outside counsel of the American Kratom Association. I'm here to speak in favor of the bill. I represent a lot of companies in the dietary supplement space, food, dietary supplements. Some of the folks do put Kratom products on the market. I'm a pharmacist with a master's degree in molecular biology. I was a captain in the U.S. Army, residency trained and board certified in nuclear pharmacy at Walter Reed. More importantly, I worked at the Food and Drug Administration for 12 years, the last about 6 of which I was the Deputy Director of the Office of Dietary Supplement Programs. So I'm here today to speak both as a pharmacist and as an advocate and as a former regulator to advocate for this regulation of Kratom and the banning of 7-hydroxymetragedine, and more importantly, synthetics, because 7-hydroxymetragedine is what they're doing today. What they're going to do tomorrow is they're going to manipulate that molecule into something different, and then you're going to have to catch them. And they're going to manipulate that molecule into something different, and you're going to have to catch them. So today isn't so much about just 7-hydroxy, it's about what they're already putting on the market, MGM-15, MGM-16. You can ask experts such as Dr. Boyer about these molecules, and they could explain to you what they do and how they're even more dangerous than 7-hydroxy is. Back in 2015, I authorized the seizure of Kratom products. At that time, I made the best decision on the information I had. 10 years later, that information, I know so much more about Kratom. It is so well studied, there's a basis for safety. Here's the thing, Kratom, 7-hydroxy, when they're marketed as dietary supplements, they are regulated. They're regulated now under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. They're regulated now under Ohio's laws about food. So you already have those regulations. What this does is it's a belt and suspenders. It clarifies what Kratom is, what it's not, how Kratom can and can't be sold, how it has to be labeled to inform consumers to use it smartly, and it also says that synthetics, synthetics, we can argue about that. These things are not natural. 7-hydroxy is not found in the Kratom leaf at any meaningful levels. The folks that make 7-hydroxy actually pull metragedine, the primary alkaloid, out, and then chemically modify it with the same chemicals you use to shock your pool in the summer. Okay, these same people now are working on MGM-15, MGM-16, and the next thing. So it is regulated, and I have to say the path to market for a dietary supplement isn't that you can't prove it's killing people. The basis for safety for a dietary supplement is a reasonable expectation of safety based off its labeled conditions of use. You need to have that basis before you go to market. A couple years ago, I sat in a room with the lead scientist for one of the 7-hydroxy manufacturers, and he pleaded with us, please don't take us off the market until we can prove we're safe. Folks, I can tell you, when you walk down to GNC, the basis for safety of all those dietary supplements isn't that they're not killing people. The basis for safety is that they're safe. They have that basis for safety. You're going to hear from a responsible manufacturer who followed that pathway through FDA's regulations, invested a lot of money in science to know that their product is safe. I've used my time. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, discuss regulation, whatever I can do, folks.
Questions from the committee? I guess Representative Brandt.
Thank you, Chairman. From the chairman to the witness, thank you for coming before us and bringing your expertise before us today. So, writing down my notes, because while you were talking, I was writing. So I'm going to look down while I'm talking, but I am paying attention to you. So you talked about what specific testing do you believe that should be implemented with this regulation regarding House Bill 587 to ensure that Kratom products are free from things such as heavy metals?
Thank you for the question. That's a good question. Again, and that goes back to dietary supplements. Food are already regulated. They cannot have contaminants in them that cause them to be adulterated. Adulterated is where they present an unreasonable risk of illness or injury. So natural products do have some heavy metals. If you grow corn in soil, it's going to have some heavy metals because that's in the soil. That's different. There's always going to be a little bit. You're never going to get zero. But what you can't have is an amount of heavy metals in a product based off its label conditions of use, where you're going to ingest an amount that's going to derive an amount of that heavy metal in your blood that causes a harm to you physically. So it's kind of a question, but they're already required to not do that. They're already required to set those limits, and they're required to test every single finished batch to make sure they don't have things like heavy metals or pesticides or 7-OH as a contaminant. So those rules already exist under 21 CFR Part 111, the federal requirements for GMP.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a quick follow-up. I'll be really quick. Okay. So you said it was other states that had similar legislation as such as this. What have been the positive and the negative outcomes that you've observed from these other states when they've implemented this?
So I've seen some positive outcomes. I'm a big fan of labels. I think an informed consumer, that's meaningful. You're telling the consumer what's in the product and how to take the product. So I think anytime you're very clear about what information the consumer deserves or warrants, I think that's a positive thing. This is very positive regulation where it doesn't just ban 7-OH, it bans all synthetics. So you're getting ahead of the curve. You're getting ahead of the next thing. I think that's a positive outcome of this. I think age gating is good, and I think age gating is good not just because you should be, if you're 18, you can carry a rifle, you can eat Kratom. But the fact of the matter is that, for me, it goes back to your basis of safety. And your basis for safety is based off the population. There's a lot of data out there for adults, because adults do clinical studies. There's less data from 12 to 18, there's less from 4 to 12. So I'm a fan of age gating because it makes the product safer, because that's where the clinical studies and the non-clinical studies have been conducted.
Thank you, Chair.
Committee, any further questions? We thank you for your
Thank you for your
testimony.
time.
Next up, we have Heidi Sikora to provide proponent testimony. Hopefully I didn't totally destroy your name.
Well, you did great, and I hope I don't destroy yours. So,
You may proceed when you're ready.
Chair Klopfenstein, Vice Chair Newman, there you are, Ranking Member Miller, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Dr. Heidi Sikora. I'm a doctor of nursing practice, a retired nurse practitioner, and a healthcare executive. My background is in developing evidence-based clinical guidelines and programs based on rigorous evidence and balancing risks and harms. And so basically, I took care of a lot of vulnerable patients, oncology, geriatric, brain injury. And when I saw patterns, I looked at the evidence and developed programs and guidelines based on the evidence, understanding that not every patient fits into those guidelines. So when we look at 587, I think that it does a very good job of balancing the harms or the benefits and the potential harms by balancing those alkaloid levels. So as we've heard, 7-hydroxymitragynine does not, it's not in the natural plant in any usable levels. So in order to have a pure 7-hydroxymitragynine product, it requires a chemical reaction. There is not long-term safety or clinical studies based on that. So for me, right there, informed consent is not available because we just don't know. So I'm very much in favor of the bill because I think it really provides that safety, the safety net. And I think that as far as form, you know, the form doesn't change the alkaloid levels. whether it be capsule or liquid extract, et cetera. The safety is the 7-OH level at 2% or less, or 1 milligram per serving. That closes that loop, and it gives you safe products. Kratom is a very important natural product that helps a lot of people. So this bill is extremely important for that reason. I think I can probably end there and take any questions.
First of all, I apologize for not calling you doctor.
It's okay.
I guess, any questions from the committee? Representative Brent.
So in your testimony, you talked about how there's been a long history of natural Kratom being of safe use. What scientific proof do you have to support your logic that's in this testimony?
So for the history of safe use?
Yes.
So it's a natural botanical tree that grows in Southeast Asia. It's been used culturally for, we believe, thousands of years, and very, in its natural native land, really no reports of harm. The agricultural workers actually would pull it off, the leaf off the tree, chew it for some energy and some pain relief, and then at night they would steep the leaves and make a tea, which was very relaxing and would help with sleep. So very similar to how it's used in the United States. So we have it in its natural element. In addition, it's been used for decades in the United States with very, very few reports of harm compared to the numbers of people that actually use it. And there are clinical studies. The FDA just did a single ascending dose study. And so what they showed is that they continued that dose until they had the first adverse reaction or side effect, and that was nausea in both groups. And they went all the way up to 12 grams. That's an incredible amount. It's just not a usual serving size. The usual serving size is like 2 to 6 grams of powder. And there's also a natural safety element because it does cause nausea. And that's what was seen in the single ascending dose study, is that's a natural safety mechanism if you're using the natural botanical. And so they did, they did have some nausea with that. And as far as other clinical studies, I mean, there's 450 or more peer-reviewed clinical studies on the pharmacokinetics, pharmacology, and safety of kratom and natural kratom products. There's a lot of evidence out there.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? I guess, could you tell me, in what cases would you prescribe this to a patient and no drug or remedy is 100% success rate? So if you prescribe this to 10 patients, how many of them will find relief or success or what that would continue taking this product?
Well, since I'm a retired nurse practitioner, I'm not prescribing currently, and it's not something I would prescribe. I would recommend it. So prescription is reserved for pharmaceuticals, not natural products. I would, so I don't, as far as the efficacy based on my personal patient population, I can't tell you that. I can tell you through the literature that we have large surveys that report patients really, or consumers really benefiting from it for pain relief, depression, PTSD, anxiety. So I can tell you that my 92-year-old mother unfortunately had a fall, and she had a double wrist fracture, and she can't take ibuprofen because of some GI problems. And so I definitely recommended it to her. She was in agony and had nothing, and it worked really beautifully for her.
Okay, well, thank you. Oh, wait, Representative Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for your testimony today. You may not know this, maybe somebody else knows. In Ohio, how many manufacturers do we have that manufacture the Kratom product, or are people gaining access to it from online, or is that possible?
I think it's a combination, and as far as the number of manufacturers, that's definitely not my expertise.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sure someone can answer it, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with no further questions, we thank you for your testimony.
Thank you so much.
Next up is Jessica Girding. Welcome to committee and proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Chair, committee members, thank you. My name is Jessica Girding. I reside in Medina County. I'm a manufacturing consultant and own and operate an ingredient manufacturing facility in Pennsylvania and a dietary supplement manufacturing facility in Florida. My work focuses on botanical standardization, regulatory compliance, and safety evaluation under the Federal Dietary Supplement Framework. I'm here to speak from a manufacturing and a scientific perspective. We've heard already about NDIs and DSHEA. What I'd like to talk about first is the difference and distinguish between raw botanical leaf powder, extract, and then semi-synthetic and synthetic ingredients. Raw powder is something that is harvested from a leaf from a tree from Southeast Asia. It's harvested, dried, crushed, and milled, and like any agricultural commodity, it can vary in alkaloid concentration depending on how it's handled and how it's harvested. The properly manufactured extracts, which come from natural leaf powder, are produced under standardized operating procedures. This is done so that it reduces variability. It allows defined serving sizes, consistent active market levels, and reproducible exposure. Extraction removes unwanted constituents such as fibers, fats, and waxes, and it reduces microbial load and can reduce contaminants. Extraction is not inherently more dangerous than raw botanical material when supported by proper chemistry, toxicology data, and defined intake limits. When done correctly, extracts represent modernization of botanical safety, consistency, stability, transparency. That said, what we did, and this was starting in 2016, is we went out and in order to apply for an NDI, which is the proper procedure for a supplement that's post-DSHEA after 1994, then there's a food supply. We do a GROS study. So we go out and we look to see what's generally recognized as safe. We look at use and length of term of use and where it's been used in the world and its safety parameters there. And then we bring it in and we use a structured scientific process. NDI is not an approval, it's not a drug application, it's just pre-market safety notification under the FDA guidelines. So we took this and did a rigorous study, 90-day toxicology study in animals. We saw our results there. We have our published number for an NDI number, so we are actually a dietary supplement ingredient with our botanical and our extract. Our extract is a patented process, it's globally protected. That has its own study as well, its own 90-day toxicology study. I'm not a toxicologist, I'm not a doctor. I just talk to a lot of them and I have them break it down for me in layman's terms. So please feel free to ask me questions about that stuff. I'm gonna give it to you in fifth grade science terms because that's how I like to have it. But we determined limits for it, safety parameters around it, dose sizes, and it's very structured, it is very defined, and it is not semi-synthetic or synthetic ingredients.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Questions from the committee? You said you were a manufacturer in Pennsylvania?
Yes,
And how many years have you been doing this?
Pennsylvania and in Florida as well. So I've been in manufacturing for 20 years. I've been in the dietary industry for about 15.
And does Pennsylvania have more regulations in regards to this product versus Ohio?
No, surprisingly, they're looking at it similarly to how Ohio does, but there's no proposed bans on it right now. So, and we actually manufacture the extract ingredients there. So we take raw botanical leaf powder it's under our NDI, it's handled and harvested and properly made in a certain way, so it has a certain level of limitation for active alkaloids in it, and then it runs through our patented process there to create our extract, which has also been studied and has its NDI as well.
Any further questions? Okay, we thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up is Madeline Bradford. Madeline?
Hello, I'll be reading off of my phone because unfortunately my computer has broken. If that's
Hang
all
on
right.
just a second while we turn your mic on better.
Hello? Is it on? Okay. Sorry, I was just saying I'm going to be reading from my phone because my computer has broken, unfortunately. But I've got the document here. Are you ready for me to start? Okay. Hello, my name is Madeline Bradford, and I would like to share my personal testimony and hopes of keeping Kratom legal in Ohio. I hope that you will listen to my story and consider protecting our access to this herbal medicine. I was born with a rare and incurable condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3, which causes me chronic pain. I experienced many issues because of this, including joint instability, muscle weakness, and dystonia. Due to the fragility of my tissues, I often experience over 100 joint dislocations in a day. I've also had multiple TBIs. Because there is no cure yet, treatment is focused on managing symptoms. Because I'm dealing with mixed muscle tone issues, there's downsides to the primary line of treatment for my dystonia, which is muscle relaxers, because they will further weaken my muscles and joints, which will cause more pain and damage to them down the line. But something must be done for the pain caused by my dislocations and dystonia, because these muscle spasms can cause further dislocation and tissue damage. Even after trying prescription pain medications and muscle relaxers, I have had the best results with Kratom, and using it with medical cannabis prevents me from relying on these prescription medications. It is also an inexpensive and natural way to control pain, which is what I must do when my pain medications aren't covered by my insurance. After a few minutes, after I take a small spoonful of Kratom, there is a visible improvement in my dystonia that anyone looking at me can see. Due to the bleeding risk for my EDS and family history of kidney and liver failure, it has been hard to control my pain. I have tried all different kinds of therapies, conventional and unconventional medicine, and joined many research studies. But in my own research, I have settled on Kratom and medical cannabis to have the best results to control my pain. Years ago, I decided to try it because my pain was not under control, even with 3 to 5 doctor's appointments I have every week. Before Kratom, I did not have the bandwidth to live a full life because my pain was not under control. And discovering it was like a miracle for me. And with the proper equipment, I was able to go back to college, complete my degree, and enjoy a robust career. It gave me my life back in a way where I could live like I was before my diagnosis. If Kratom is banned, I don't know what I will do. I've had to stop Kratom a number of times when I had to for surgeries or medical procedures. Even after years of use, it was easy to wean myself off of it in a few days. I think that a lot of the people experiencing what they call Kratom withdrawals are experiencing withdrawal from other substances or an increase in their pain due to chronic pain issues. And the deaths that are blamed on Kratom are often, there's other substances in their blood, or they were doing synthetic Kratom. Kratom has given me back my career, and now the ban is about to rip out of my hands what I worked so hard for. I've been trying to get into this program for disabled entrepreneurs for over a year now. It's finally my turn after serving my time on the wait list. But if Kratom is banned, I know that I will be stuck in bed from pain and unable to manage even just going to doctor's appointments. I definitely won't be able to get up and go to work every day. I cannot grow as a person without proper control of my pain and my symptoms. I cannot even take care of myself when my pain isn't controlled. Instead of a full ban, maybe we could come to a compromise. Perhaps we could treat Kratom like medical marijuana. We could use taxes and revenue for local improvements and establish avenues for testing products to make sure they're safe. We could also institute precautions such as age or amount purchase limits. On the other side of the spectrum, perhaps we could require a doctor's recommendation. Of course, this is not ideal for many because many people don't have access to doctors, but it would be better than a full ban. I'm actually in full support of banning synthetic Kratom products because these have increased dangers and cast the entire Kratom community in a negative light. Natural whole leaf Kratom has fail-safes to prevent excessive ingestion, whereas synthetic has been altered to bypass these, making it easier to abuse. I hope protect our access to this herbal medicine. You may find yourself or someone you love in a situation like mine, and I know you don't want to see them limited by pain. We have done well by legalizing cannabis, and I hope to see access to Kratom protected as well. I would encourage anyone who thinks Kratom is bad to think about my success story and how it gave me my life back. If Kratom is banned, what next? Will you ban other medicinal herbs like green tea, chamomile, or valerian, or the thermos of coffee I have? If Kratom is banned, it will definitely be a dark time for me and the entire community with chronic pain. So please take steps to protect our access to this herbal medicine. While my condition may be rare, you may find yourself in a situation like mine due to illness or injury, or it may be your loved one going through this and you feel helpless watching them suffer because they lost access to their medicine. Kratom has allowed me to be a better daughter, partner, caregiver, student, and person because I can show up and rise beyond my limitations I was born with. I encourage you to consider my story when you decide the future of Kratom in Ohio. Thank you for giving me the time to share my testimony.
We appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Representative Brandt.
I'll keep it to one because we got a lot of folks, but I do have a lot of questions, but I'll ask you that later personally. Thank you, Chairman, from the chairman to the witness. Thank you for providing your personal story about Kratom and how it's helped you in your journey. So one thing you said, and it actually perked up my antennas, you brought up cannabis. What specific regulations, when you talk about how we should regulate it like cannabis, that we should also correlate that with Kratom?
Well, I actually graduated with an Associate's of Medical Cannabis Laboratory Studies, so I've devoted my study to studying medicinal plants, and there was a class that we took that was about the manufacturing regulations and how things are tested to make sure there's not above parts per million of things like heavy water, mold contamination, things like that. And I've also heard things about people who order Kratom from websites in bad quality, like cheap products that may or may not be what they're labeled as, which is what we've seen with the 7.0 issue starting in 2023. So I would just support full laboratory testing to make sure that everybody's getting a safe product that is what it's labeled as.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Thank you for coming and giving your testimony today. Appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have Natalie DeVera to provide proponent testimony. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You don't have an easy name like I do.
Sorry, it's DeVere, but that's fine, don't worry. Chair, Vice Chair, ranking members, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide my testimony. My name is Natalie DeVere, and I'm the Director of Operations of Miracle Kratom, an Ohio small business that my husband and I have operated for the past 9 years, selling only natural Kratom leaf products. We do not sell enhanced extracts, concentrated alkaloids, or synthetic products. We sell plain leaf Kratom. I'm here in strong support of HB 587 because Ohio is long overdue for clear, consistent, science-based regulations on natural Kratom products. For years, Kratom has existed in a regulatory vacuum in Ohio. Since around 2018, the Ohio Department of Agriculture has taken the position that Kratom may be sold in Ohio, but not for human consumption. That means businesses are discouraged from including warning labels or serving instructions on products that are clearly being consumed by adults. As a business owner, that puts us in an impossible situation. We believe responsible labeling and consumer information is critical to safe and informed consumption. Yet under current interpretations by the ODA, including those warnings could subject a business to embargo. That's not sound public health policy. HB 587 corrects that. It establishes labeling standards, age restrictions, and product safety requirements. It brings transparency to the marketplace that has operated in uncertainty. Our neighboring state, Kentucky, which we also own and operate a Kratom store, has already implemented these exact regulations since July of 2024. I also want to address the increased issue of like 7-OH. It is critical to understand that 7-OH is a singular alkaloid found in natural trace amounts of the Kratom leaf. In isolated and concentrated forms, these products are not Kratom. However, in recent years, high-potency synthetic or manipulated alkaloid products have entered the marketplace and erroneously been advertised and sold as Kratom. These products are fundamentally different from natural products and should be prohibited. When data is presented about isolated 7-OH or concentrated extracts, it is often characterized as though it represents traditional Kratom. That is scientifically inaccurate. HB 587 recognizes this distinction by capping 7-OH levels and banning concentrated synthetic alkaloids. That is exactly where regulatory focus belongs. I also want to briefly address federal oversight. In August of 2024, our company was investigated by the FDA following a report of death in Ohio. According to the autopsy, it was due to acute combined drug effects with toxic levels of gabapentin, benzodiazepines, Benadryl, and mitragynine found in the system. The FDA conducted an investigation of our operations. We provided certificates analysis, product labeling, and documentation of our good manufacturing practices. We do not make medical claims. We follow dietary supplement manufacturing standards. After the investigation, no enforcement action was taken against our company. I share this not defensively, but to demonstrate that responsible operators exist in this space and that regulations work when applied appropriately. Kratom is not FDA approved as a drug and cannot be marketed or sold, bearing medical claims. It currently exists in the dietary supplement or food category federally. That federal ambiguity has allowed states in Ohio to remain in a gray area. HB 587 gives Ohio the opportunity to create clarity rather than confusion. Do you want me to stop or just finish a little bit? I can stop because my time's up, but up to you.
Why don't we stop there?
Okay.
Do we have questions from the committee? Representative Brent.
Thank you, Chairman. I always have a question, but I'm gonna just stick it to one. I appreciate the chairman lets me have a question. So I will just give you this one. You say you're a business owner.
Yep.
And that you support this bill for Kratom. So how does your business currently implement these standards of labeling, quality control testing, since this is what's all part of this bill?
So that's like kind of a double-edged sword because technically we actually do provide, like we do product testing. All of our products are lab tested. So the things you're asking about like heavy metals and things, every single one of our products has the certificate of analysis that has like heavy metals, mold toxicity, anything of that. And if it wouldn't meet that standards, we would never put it out. And that's for all of the products. We just sell plain leaf Kratom. So it's just powdered Kratom packaged into a bag. Currently, the Department of Agriculture of Ohio does not want us to have any labels on our bags. That's been around since 2018. I've gone against that, and we put labels on our bags that have serving sizes because I found that really irresponsible. And had I not had that, when the FDA ended up coming, it would have been a very bad situation. But because I had all the, like, what you're correctly supposed to be doing with a dietary supplement business, we followed the regulations federally, and there was nothing, like, all of our products and like everything was following the correct process.
This is not a follow-up, it's a question to the chair. Chair, can we check to see if the ODA does not allow labeling for this?
It's on their website.
It's on their website?
It's
Can
under,
we get
it's
LSC
got
to
a
check
little
that?
pamphlet.
We'll follow.
I appreciate you, Chair.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Representative Sims.
Maybe I can ask you this question. Is there a small network of Kratom producers?
Yes, so my husband and I, we own retail, we own and operate retail stores, so we're direct to consumer. We started back in 2016. I know just in the Columbus area, there's another one here. There's at least 5 Kratom-only retail stores just in the city of Columbus. We moved to Cleveland, so now we have another one there. I think there's at least 10 that just sell Kratom, not in a smoke shop, as a sole store.
Just a simple follow-up.
Follow-up?
Is most of the manufacturers, are they just in powder or, okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
I can't speak for all of them. I believe at least most ones that I've stayed up to date with are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? Representative Conklin.
Thank you, Chair. Do you find other retailers have shared concerns about labeling, making sure there's safe regulations? Is this something that you talk about among the community and the industry within your expertise, your sales?
In Ohio, yes. The fact that that's the stance that's been taken for so long is really odd because it is legally allowed to be sold. They, on their website, say you can legally sell it, but don't sell it for human consumption. So, which almost puts this weird bad state. It's almost asking to put a stigma on it. It's almost asking for problems to occur because then people just get a product and don't know what to do with it. So it is Ohio needs, this bill would actually finally formalize the correct standards that should be followed already and actually have standards.
So I guess I do have a question. You're producing the natural product. When the synthetic product come on the market, did your customers, when they called and asked for the product, say, hey, are you carrying the new synthetic Kratom?
We lost a lot of customers. So, of course, we're in the industry, so other companies try to get us to sell their product. We don't sell anyone else's but our own brand. So we were shipped 7-OH. I tried it and was absolutely not. We never even sold extracts before that, just like we believe just like the natural plant is enough. Like when you start getting to extracts, that's a different argument, but the 7-OH is just should not be on the market. Over the past 2 years, we like lost a lot of customers to 7-OH, and not like died, but like they went to get it, like, because we would not provide it. And we would get calls like, oh, do you guys sell that? And no, we don't sell that. And they would go to smoke shops or gas stations to get it.
So if I may ask this, maybe a little personal, so it's up to you whether you want to answer it. When you took the synthetic product, what made you come to the conclusion, not for me? What did it do to you?
It felt like an opiate. It was like a full-blown opiate.
Okay. Any further questions? Representative Sims.
So with the Kratom, how do you get the plant? Do you grow and harvest, or where does it come from?
It wouldn't really grow well I think I was at the last meeting and I think someone asked like, is it grown in like United States? It needs very humid climates. It mostly grows in like Southeast Asia. Ours comes from Indonesia. We don't personally import it. We have like a different chain of things and then it goes down the chain. So we have a vendor that will import it and then we purchase it from them. But it's coming from Indonesia. There's farms, there's tons of different, like they have regulations there to, that have to meet standards to get into America.
So, thank you. Thank you. So I think you answered the question. So they have standards for growing and all of those things?
Yeah, they've gotten better over the years.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With no further questions, we appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Andrew Cupula. How bad did I do that?
Culpa.
Culpa. Welcome to committee. Proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Andrew Culpa. I'm testifying as a proponent to the House Bill 587. I represent the trade organization Botanicals for Better Health and Wellness, a group comprised of botanical industry companies as it relates to kratom and other botanicals. Kratom michiganine speciosa is a natural botanical in the same plant family as coffee. It is most often used for an energy boost, mild mood enhancing effects. Its effects are relatively mild, like that of coffee or tea. Kratom has been used for centuries in a variety of therapeutic reasons, including improved mood, reduction in anxiety, increased energy, and treatment for minor aches and pains. It's been used in the US for over 30 years for many of the same reasons. In the last 5 years alone, we've seen over 400 publications and peer-reviewed medical and scientific clinical trials supporting therapeutic use of kratom in an adult population. These come from major institutes such as Johns Hopkins University and the University of Florida. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration had administered the first leg of their own human clinical trial on kratom. It has shown that it is both safe and well tolerated in an adult population. Despite statements to the contrary, kratom is a regulated product by the federal government. Kratom is a botanical and sold as a dietary supplement. The FDA has specific rules as to the manufacturing, testing, labeling, and label claims related thereto. This is similar to traditional food products in the U.S. Kratom as a natural plant is not a pharmaceutical, and therefore does not go through a pre-market approval to get approved by the FDA for specific medical use. Kratom itself is not a controlled substance, nor has it ever been. For nearly a decade, actions taken by Congress, Health and Human Services, and the National Institute on Drug Abuse have established kratom's therapeutic benefits and preserved its position as a dietary ingredient. We look to extend that support in the state of Ohio. In the state of Ohio, market confusion has been exacerbated by actions taken in the last 6 months. In August of last year, Governor DeWine ordered the Board of Pharmacy to schedule kratom and 7-OH. This appeared to be a clear overreach as it was promptly walked back. Then in December, the governor had referred the scheduling of 7-OH over to the Board of Pharmacy, which was in line with actions that were taken with the federal government. However, the lack of legislative research and support made this recommendation without a de minimis level of 7-OH that might result in naturally dried kratom leaves. Further, kratom was referred over to the Board of Pharmacy for a regular scheduling process. You couple that with, as was mentioned with the last testament about the Department of Agriculture taking actions against stores selling kratom products that comply with federal law and as being properly labeled with appropriate instructions for use. It is clear that between the governor's actions, the Board of Pharmacy, and the Department of Agriculture, a legislative approach is needed to clarify the safe adult use of kratom in the Ohio marketplace. Looking at market data from both Nielsen as well as the Information Research Institute, or IRI, there is approximately $14 million in annual sales of Kratom in the convenience channel alone, resulting in between $800,000 and $1.1 million in sales tax revenue to the state. Based on the historic 13% growth, that's going to grow towards $2 million in sales tax revenue within the next 5 years. There's also nearly 2,200 stores that are selling Kratom within the state, meaning that at least in part, they have engaged residents of Ohio through employment tax and other services in order to sell this botanical in the marketplace. 19 other states have passed legislation as it relates to Kratom Consumer Protection Act, and this includes product labeling, product testing, age gating, and similar restrictions on synthetic products. The laws have been around for over a decade and have been very effective in the marketplace. The current bill before you is reflective of this, and we hope to see this adopted in full. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry that we're going to have to stop.
fine.
We're going to get
happy
run
to
out of
answer any
time.
questions you
But
might have.
any questions from the committee? Representative Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with 300 stores selling in
2,200 doors.
2,200 in Ohio?
Yes.
So are they purely Kratom, or is there a mix?
They sell other products as well. Those 2,200 doors come from the convenience chain, so there would be convenience stores in the state that are selling other products in addition to Kratom products.
Okay. Just not that this would have major bearings, but just out of curiosity, like how much does Kratom cost in Ohio, like an ounce?
Usually one serving is, I'd say, probably around $3, similar to, it's used as an energy product in many circumstances. You could liken it to, what you would see as like a 5-hour energy style shot. So one serving would be about the same price.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Brent.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question for you.
Sure.
So you said in your testimony, you stated Kratom is a botanical and sold as a dietary ingredient. I was fact checking as you were talking, and I looked it up on the FDA website. They said they're not approved for that.
Mm-hmm.
I can send it to the chairman, but you said it was, but it said it's not. I was just asking, where did you get that information from?
Completely fair question. The process federally, in order to be approved as a new dietary ingredient, is that a company must submit what's called a new dietary ingredient
It hasn't been
notification,
submitted yet.
an NDIN. They have been submitted. The law says that they must be submitted. There's been approximately 11 NDIs that have been submitted to the FDA. Federal law says that they must be submitted. There is no, as I mentioned, pre-market approval process associated with dietary ingredients. So you must follow the law, have your safety standards, have a reasonable basis for safety, and submit your NDI to the FDA. They don't actually have to approve it. The FDA's Kratom website, I would say, is horribly outdated. The information that has been put forth there has been reflected in court testimony by the FDA as being unofficial agency action. The position of the FDA, as they've represented in court cases, is that they have not approved an NDIN, which is not required under the law, but they also have not updated that website in order to reflect the true nature of the botanical.
Just to the chairman, not to you. The website was updated in 2025 of September of last year. Can you check to see what he's saying is correct? Because our federal government is saying what he's saying is not correct, according to the website. But he's saying,
You want me to fact check the
I don't know, like he's saying that the federal website is not correct. I mean, that's a deep statement.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I'd be more than happy to provide some additional information supporting this.
I'm looking at our website for the FDA,
Yeah,
and he's
if
saying
you
it's
could
not
get
correct.
that information to us, and then we'll get it out to the committee.
happy to.
But that's probably beyond, so the answer to your question is, no, I won't fact check, but we'll try and get it.
I appreciate you. No more questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for the questions.
Any further questions? All right, we appreciate your
Thank you all for
testimony.
your time.
Next up, we will have Andrew Toops.
These hard chairs can be rough.
Welcome to committee, and you can proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah. Chairman and committee, my name's Andrew Toops. I'm 52 years old, and I live here in Ohio. I'm permanently disabled and on SDI. I support House Bill 587 and the Senate companion to regulate kratom responsibly and against treating pure leaf kratom as if it were fentanyl or heroin. I was raised by parents from farm families. I've lived in Columbus for over 20 years. On paper, my medical file is severe. degenerative scoliosis, multiple damaged discs, lumbar spinal stenosis, nerve compression, severe arthritis of an 80-year-old, I've been told. And I've got a clotting disorder called factor V Leiden that makes surgery extremely high risk. My neurosurgeon said fatal. Most people can tell something is wrong just by watching me walk. So from 2012 to early 2017, I was prescribed up to 360 milligrams a day of instant release oxycodone. I weaned myself off of those pills on my own, and in 2018, after about a year, the arthritis and the stuff in my spine just really got to the point where I was having trouble. So that's when I first discovered just pure natural leaf kratom. 2019, I had a bad fall down the stairs at home that made everything worse, and it put me on SSDI. Kratom stopped being just helpful, and it's become essential. Since then, Pure Leaf Kratom has been the only thing that lets me manage the level of pain that I have, enough to stand, walk short distances, except for where I had to park, and function at all without going back on high-dose opioids. For my body, the real choice is not Kratom or nothing, it's Kratom or those pharmaceuticals. And trust me, if you have never been on high-dose synthetic opioids, you don't want it, because it's horrible. I've heard people compare Kratom to fentanyl and heroin and all that stuff. And I always roll my eyes because I'm standing here right now with Kratom in my system. I'm clear-headed, I'm not high, I'm not sedated, and I'm present. And you know that I'm present. So I am what Kratom looks like. Federal reports show that in rare cases where Kratom has been involved with death and stuff, there's always been polydrug use. So these deaths are not just from pure Kratom leaf alone. State of Ohio should not be pushing disabled people back onto high-dose opioids by taking the plan away. I support Bill 587 and the lines that it's putting down for testing, accurate labeling, and age limits. I think that's a wise thing to do, and in doing that, you will keep it from being taken away from people like me. So that's all I've got to say from that, and I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, we appreciate your testimony.
Sure.
Any questions from the committee? I will start with a question then. How did you find out about Kratom, and tell us a little bit about your story of finding the product and how you've taken it.
Yeah, because the arthritis I have is severe. And you can tell if you saw those pictures. One day it got to the point where the pain was just awful. I was off the opioids for about a year. Went to a store we've got up in Clintonville called Momentum 98. And they said, you need to go to Worthington and look for this store called Life of Kratom. And so I went up there, I met Jack, who's actually here today, and that's where I first experienced Kratom. And the difference was monumental. And so that's where it started, and that was before the fall. So it was helping me manage pain, but then after the fall and then what happened after that, it's become a lifeline. If I wouldn't have had Kratom in my system, there's no way I could have walked from City Center to here with, somebody with me, of course. But yeah, that's how I found out, by word of mouth. And everybody that I've ever known, I've never come across anybody who's had trouble with just pure leaf Kratom that is manufactured responsibly and in a manner that is like the House bill talks about. Real quickly, I will say something about the synthetics, because I tried those synthetics like the lady from Miracle Kratom was talking about, and that stuff, I say absolute no. You don't want that mess. And that stuff is not like just the pure leaf Kratom that is a powder. You can mix it in stuff, or you can do what I do, which is called toss and wash. So I get it, throw it in, a little bit of warm water, wash it down, and my system uptakes it pretty quick, and so it helps me to be able to get into my day. So
since you've started taking this product, have you had to increase the dose from 1 scoop to 2 scoops to 3 scoops, or
Well,
what you?
it depends on the day, because some days pain is worse, sometimes pain is, not as bad. So I just regulate it by the day. And it's just basically, I use a spoon, I don't use a scoop. But yeah, it just depends on what I'm feeling. And that's the good thing about it, is that it's not dangerous. So that if you need a little bit more of the powder, you can take it. But if you don't have to. And I want to bring up what she said about the ceiling effect. When it comes to nausea, that absolutely is built into Kratom. Because I hear these people, oh, you're going to overdose and die, or oh, you're going to snort this leaf powder, or you're going to inject leaf powder into your veins. It's like, that's not the way it works. So yeah, the whole nausea, ceiling effect, yes, that does happen, especially when a person very first takes Kratom. There's a hit of nausea, but then that's it. And so it doesn't really happen after that fact, unless if you accidentally take too much, and this is the testimony across all kinds of people, it will make you sick, and you will not overdose because you will throw up. So, yeah.
Representative Cockley.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your testimony today. I'm curious if you are well connected within the disability community, and if so, have you heard of any disability rights organizations that may have taken a stance on either this bill or regulating Kratom in general?
I have not, because I tend to be just a pretty private person. On disability, I worked for a company for almost 20 years, and the stuff got so bad that it took the judge judge called the lawyer the night before the hearing and said, you don't have to come in. I've seen this stuff, it's not going to take 10 minutes. So no, tend to be a private individual, and I am not hooked up with anybody anywhere. The only person I know is Jack, and my God, he's been a godsend with the product that he makes. And I know for a fact that there is a label on that, and I know the process that, well, not the whole thing, but I know the important parts of the process that he goes through to make sure the stuff is safe and it's good quality, and I've never had a problem with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we appreciate you making the extra effort to get in here today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Christopher Deanne. Christopher? Okay, we'll go on to Brian Polio. Is there a Brian Polio? All right, how about a Sarah Landis? Welcome, Sarah. Thank you. And you can proceed when you can make it up.
This is my first time doing something like this, so just bear with me. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I am 44 years old. I am living with end-stage renal disease. I have lupus, and I have fought cancer twice. I am permanently disabled due to these illnesses that I did not choose and I did not ask for. Every day is a battle that you should be thankful you do not have to endure. I am here with urgency and with a heavy heart regarding this potential ban on the pure leaf Kratom. For years, I was told by the doctors that my suffering was just something that I would have to live with. But living is not living. It's surviving in constant pain and exhaustion and despair. And there were times that I felt like I was disappearing piece by piece. 7 years ago, I started to run out of hope, and I began researching online for natural components to help with the situations I call that I was going through. I found Life of Kratom. What I found was not a recreational substance. What I found was relief. I found stability and the ability to get out of bed and participate in my own life. Kratom has given me something that the illness has tried to take away. It has allowed me to function, think clearly, and fight harder against diseases that are already trying to shorten my life. With me, I have my medical records that reflect the difference in 7 years that I have been taking Kratom. The thought of losing something that has helped sustain me is terrifying. For me, it's not a policy debate. It's a deeply personal situation. A ban would not just remove the product from the shelves, it would remove a lifeline for people like me. I understand that there's an importance of regulation and safety, and I support that. But what I do not support is a full prohibition of Kratom. I am asking you as lawmakers and as fellow human beings to consider the real faces behind this. I'm one of them. I'm willing to appear and speak to you and wholeheartedly tell you that I fight every day of my life. If this is taken from me, the ramifications of that will be horrific. Thank you for your time and your compassion and your service to Ohio. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here at committee today. I'm sure it took extra effort. And Representative Newman, you have a question?
Yes, thank you to the chair, and thank you to the witness for being here to tell us this. It's important for us to hear this. Thank you for your testimony, and I think you said, as you referenced, 7 years ago. Have you been taking Pure Leaf Kratom for 7 years, and have you seen the relief be consistent over these 7 years? Have you found the relief change? Or tell me more about that.
I started 7 years ago, and that's when I had met Cody Smith, who was Jack Smith's son, who was also an owner of Life of Kratom. And at that time, I had kidney cancer. I had my right kidney removed. So I had one working kidney and still have one working kidney. And it was important for me to get the water and such in me, and I mix it with my water. And from 7 years to now, my urologist has actually wrote me a note, which I was told I wasn't allowed to submit because of HIPAA violation, stating that my left kidney, my renal function has improved in 7 years since drinking Kratom. It's not just, it helps relieve a lot of the anxiety and pain that I have. Therefore, I'm able to move and my body's able to go through the process of having, urine. It's not gross, but yeah. And the taboo of the situation, before all of this, I have a law enforcement background. And the taboo of it was something that I most definitely looked into and realized, why is this being looked at as this is something it's a bad thing? So I have taken all my power and let everyone know that Pure Leaf Kratom is a phenomenal product. The 70H, I will just go with them and say they can take that somewhere else because it's not good. Mm-hmm.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. It's tough to give personal testimony. Sometimes you do it in front of a lot of people in this room and in front of Ohioans. So thank you for that courage. My fellow colleague asked one of the questions I had, so I guess I'll move on to this one, and that is, you have law enforcement background?
Correct.
Is there any legalities around when a test is done so you can maybe get keep your CDL, or you have certain job restrictions on having certain drugs in your system? Is Kratom going to inhibit anybody's ability to legally be able to go through their work or their job and pass what we'd call a urine test.
Are you speaking specifically as such, as the Peace Officer Training Academy, the Ohio State Highway Patrols? I mean, is that?
Any of them, any that you know of?
No.
Okay.
And that is because it is not a type of opioid that is random, that is tested when such go into any kind of criminal background, whether it be anything, any kind of random drug screens for any job. The 7-OH, I can't speak of that. I don't
Right.
know. I'm not accurate on that.
All right, so if I may, Chair. So if I understand this correctly, and the committee understands this correctly, that there is no drug screening for natural kratom per se as of today?
Correct.
Thank you, Chair.
Representative Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for your testimony today. Just out of curiosity, do you take anything else to supplement pain, or is it just straight the kratom?
I take every day, I have my thyroid medication, and then in days that are lupus flares, I take my prednisone, but other than that, no.
But nothing
Just the
directed?
kratom.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions from the committee? Representative Brent?
Thank you, Chairman. From the Chairman to the witness, thank you for your vulnerability with just talking about your health here and on camera. Hopefully that inspires a lot of other people to advocate for themselves in this space called health and wellness. So when I was looking up, obviously I have questions for everybody.
That's fine.
Okay.
You're okay.
So when I was looking up on the FDA website, I know this can sometimes be connected with liver toxicity or even people having seizures. What has been your conversation, and you don't have to answer this question because I know HIPAA is definitely a real thing, with your doctor as you're telling your doctor, hey, I'm taking this, because obviously your doctor cannot prescribe it, so you're getting it over the counter, about concerns about your other organs when you are taking Kratom?
The only concern that he had at that time was, because I was a relatively new product that I was putting in my body. And so he and I sat, he had some questions, and he and I actually, it was about an hour and a half that he and I sat together and went through the pros and the cons of pure kratom leaf and opioids. And the opioids, the con situation, that was not good. And so I started the kratom, and he's seen the renal function. You have everyone has what's called a BUN level in your blood, and it indicates on how your kidney is filtering out toxins in your body. At that time, when I started the kratom, my BUN was pretty low, to a point where they thought that I needed dialysis. I began the kratom, and 6 months later, my BUN level had leveled off to a normal level. And it was almost one of those things where you remember things that happened in your life, your birth of your children. And that was one of the most phenomenal things I have ever gone through. Next to my children, of course, too, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate, any further questions? Appreciate your testimony and wish you well.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Leslie Tice Thomas. Do we have Leslie Tice Thomas? All right. Next up, Drew Elon. No Drew. Scaring them off. How about Robert Hernandez? Welcome to committee, Robert.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you. My name's Robert Hernandez. I'll keep this really short. My name's Robert Hernandez. My best friends call me Scars. I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 4, so my body's a wreck. I've been in car wrecks, just on top of the arthritis, everything. We all got our stories, but I've been hurting for almost 50 years now. I'm 52 now. They put me on the usual course of opioids, usual results. I got addicted. I lost 2 marriages, stopped breathing at night, the whole thing. It was just absolutely destructive. After the end of my second marriage, I lost my insurance, my health insurance, and my mom had died from cancer a decade before that, and before she died, she made me promise on the side of her deathbed that I wouldn't kill myself because of the pain, because the pain is heavy, you know, and there's few options, and there's one clear way out, you know, and my family didn't want me taking that, so I made that promise. But after I lost insurance, I wouldn't go onto the street to get into opioids because that's just, it's super expensive and super dangerous, and I wasn't interested in going down that path. So I was, despite the promise, I was considering taking the easy way out, and naturals had never worked for serious pain, so I was just like, why even bother with naturals? But I was at a head shop, and I said, look, do you have anything that can help me? And they said, Google Kratom. They didn't say try Kratom. They said, look up Kratom. They didn't recommend it. They said, look up Kratom, make your own decisions. I put it in the back of my head, let it sit on it a couple weeks, was sitting there about ready to make the wrong decision, and I said, you know what, just try this Kratom thing. I went, bought an ounce package, and tried it, and it took the edge off. That was 6.5 years ago. I've consumed it every day since then. I see multiple doctors. They test my labs. My labs are all fine. No concerns about suicide anymore. Everything's going the right direction. So if I lose Kratom, I mean, I'll be a criminal. I'll be honest with you. I'll be a criminal because it's better than the other option. So it is what it is, you know? Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you for coming to committee today. Can you back up a little bit? How did you find out about the Kratom product, or who recommended it to you, and how did you find it?
I was in a head shop in Dayton, one of the head shops in Dayton, and I said, I am at the end of my ropes. At the end of my rope, is there anything natural you have that can be for pain that might help me? I mean, and they said, a young woman there named Rainey, she said, Google, like as a verb, Google Kratom, like looking up, you know, not like, I used to be a tech, so I thought it was like a software product, but she said, no, Google Kratom. She said, we're not allowed to tell you what our thoughts on it, we're not allowed to recommend it or anything, but she said, just look it up, make your own decisions. If you decide you're interested, come back here. And I came back 2 weeks later and I said, I decided to try it. She said, what took you so long? It was all the warnings you saw from the FDA and everything. I said, no, I just assume naturals don't work, but I decided I had nothing to lose, so a head shop told me about it.
Any additional questions? With none, we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your time. Good luck, everyone. Take care.
I have went through my list of folks that were. I stand corrected. Is there a Jennifer Young? Jennifer Young. I have gone through my list. Is there anyone else here that would like to testify on Kratom? The gentleman in the orange shirt. Does he need any?
This should be signed up. I did, yes.
Go ahead and proceed. When you state your name for the record, and then you can proceed.
Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify regarding House Bill 587. My name is Dan Gibbs. I was born in Ohio and have lived here my entire life. My family is here. My community is here. My son, Austin, died on December 6, 2023. He was 25 years old. The Montgomery County Coroner's Office under Dr. Kent Hirschberger certified the cause of death as intoxication by mitratidine, the primary psychoactive alkaloid in Kratom. Toxicology did not identify fentanyl, heroin, prescription opioids, synthetic adulterants, or any other substances as contributing factors in his death. House Bill 587 prohibits 7-OH, but permits the continued retail sale of mitratidine which was the certified cause of my son's death. It involved a product sold legally, marketed as natural and safe, and widely available in retail settings. Many individuals you've heard testify today support Kratom as it replaced prescription opioids, even illicit opioids in their lives. Some describe using pure leaf Kratom daily for chronic pain management so they can function or get out of bed. When supporters describe Cureleaf Kratom, the natural plant product sold at retail, as replacing morphine, fentanyl, or other opioids, they are acknowledging that Kratom's active alkaloids act on the same pharmacologic site, the mu opioid receptor. That is established pharmacology. Substances that act on the mu opioid receptor and are used as opioid substitutes warrant evaluation under controlled substance law. House Bill 587 instead places Kratom under the Department of Agriculture rather than under controlled substance law. Labeling requirements, age limits, and a cap on 7-OH do not change the underlying pharmacology. Metragine, which acts on the mu opioid receptor, would remain legally sold at retail. At the same time, the Ohio Board of Pharmacy is actively reviewing Kratom under its authority to evaluate substances for scheduling based on abuse potential and public health risk. Why would the legislature formalize regulation under the Department of Agriculture while that controlled substance evaluation is ongoing and risk undermining a science-based review? Federal review is also incomplete. The FDA has acknowledged that research into Kratom's effects is still underway, including an ascending dose study that is not expected to conclude until 2027. The FDA has not changed its position regarding the adverse effects associated with Kratom.
Can we stop just a second?
Yes.
This testimony today is for proponents, and we will have a later hearing for opponents. So we would rather you come back when we have the opponent hearing and give your testimony.
Okay, it had both of the options when I signed up, so.
I'm not sure why.
Could I go ahead and finish and I'll just come back when it?
It would probably be better if you come back when
Okay.
we had the opponent testimony.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that and a misunderstanding.
Thank you.
Okay, our next proponent is Jack Smith. Welcome to committee, and you can proceed when you're ready.
Thank you guys for having us. But my name's Jack Smith. I own Life for Kratom here in Ohio. I was a professional race car driver most of my life, raced NASCAR for many years, and in 2007 I broke my neck and got put on pain pills. 2010, my life came crashing down, lost a contract for $2.5 million a year for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, I had a $40 million deal, and I lost it because of opiates. I didn't want to be on any kind of pharmaceutical drugs after I got a rehab, and I looked into other natural ways, and I found Kratom. I was like anybody else that got online, said, oh, this is addicting, so I wanted to know everything about it. A buddy of mine is married to a wife in Indonesia. He called me one day and said, hey, Jack, there's this stuff called Kratom. It helps people it helps with pain, but it also helps people get off of opiates. And he knew that was my drive to help people, because I was that typical person, if you're an addict, just quit, and didn't realize that, it was harder than, we thought. So I took Kratom for the first time, and it changed my life. It's the only thing I take all day long besides my supplements, but I created this Life for Kratom, and the part that you guys don't see is 40% of my business is 60 and over. Not to tell you my business, but my business is over $100,000 a month. So the amount of people that you're going to affect by doing a ban of this thing is incredible. And people can come fully withdrawn off of heroin, and I can give them some Kratom, and it stops those withdrawals. And that's the biggest thing as a recovering addict. Now, we spoke on, can you take too much? I've tried to do that. I've tried to take 12 grams, and what happens is you get dizzy and you throw it up. And as a recovering addict, that was the greatest thing in the world, because I started out 1 pill, 5 pills, 10 pills, and I was up to 80 Percocet 10s a day. Doctors are giving them to me like they were peasants. So, like I said, 40% of my business is 60 and over. And when you start seeing what it does is help with the elderly, people with Parkinson's, it's an incredible thing. I have a direct connect with Indonesia. And when it is shipped here from them, pure power, I've always been this way. I don't know if you ever see me on the news. I've always said nothing should be sold besides powder. I don't believe in 7-OH. I think it's deadly, and it's caused a bad problem. Like Natalie said from Miracle Kratom, it's hurt our sales, but, people are just going to, they have stinking thinking, and that's what people, continue to do. But when Kratom is sent to me, I have a testing sheet I get from Indonesia. When it comes here, I have a third party test it and make sure those sheets test. If they don't match up, I do not sell it. So, any questions?
Appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions? So back up a little bit. How long have you been using this product yourself, and then how long have you been selling it?
2016 was when I first took it. 2017, I started my business called Life of Kratom.
And are you an Ohio-based business?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And do you sell any 7-OH products?
I refuse to. We got a lot of calls on it. I don't believe in it. I think it's not good. Just don't mess with the powder.
Okay. Any further questions? We appreciate your testimony, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Are there any additional proponents that, yes, sir, did you submit testimony? No, sir. We'll bring you a witness slip. Why don't you come ahead, come forward, and we'll have you fill that out afterwards. Okay. Where would you like that? Right there at the podium. All right. State your name and proceed when you're ready.
Oh, my name is Noah Dowdy. I reside in Delaware, Ohio. Born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I definitely want to advocate for Kratom. I'm no longer a user of Kratom, but since the year 2000, I was strung out on heroin, and that heroin addiction was an off and on thing for 17 years. 2017, I had a friend refer me to actually Jack's shop, Life of Kratom. And I took my friend's advice because I was sick of the run around with the opiates, you know. My friend definitely had my best interest in mind. He owns an MMA gym and he's taken the holistic approach on everything. So, and my friend I was thinking, you know, how much worse could putting a leaf in my body be compared to an opiate that I have no clue how it was processed. So I went down that road, and the results that I seen were amazing. It was simply amazing. I couldn't get high on the Kratom, just like everyone else was saying, and me being an extremist, of course I tried, and got super sick, super nauseous. I don't see how you could possibly ingest enough to make you high. I continued using Kratom for quite a while, a number of years, and at the max amount that I ever got up to was maybe 6 to 8 grams in a day. And if I would take any more than that, it would give me the nausea, you know. Took away any kind of, any little urge that I had that I would want for opiates, you know. It truly was a miracle to me. And all the people in my life, since they seen all the struggles that I had with opiates, I referred many people to Kratom instead of taking the route of painkillers and stuff for minor injuries and whatnot. And it's been amazing. You know, I go to NA meetings and AA meetings, and I've never been in a meeting where I see someone saying that they're there over just the ground up leaf. I have seen people in meetings over extracts and the 7-hydroxy. You know, I think you know, regulations should be in play. There should be certain things to help the use of this be regulated and more safe as well. But yeah, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that, and if you all have any questions, I'm more than happy to ask.
We appreciate you being here today. Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions? No questions, so thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
He will bring you a witness slip then to fill out. Do we have any other folks here that are proponents? Okay, come forward. Please state your name, and then have you submitted testimony?
I sent you emails, but I didn't know how to do the PDF. So,
Well, if we don't have it, we'll give you a witness slip that you can fill out afterwards, okay? You can proceed.
my name is Renee Canfield, and I hate to admit it, but I'll be 60 this year. And I honestly don't know what I would do without natural kratom leaf tea. Every day I get up, I have an awful time walking. I suffer with severe chronic pain, and this leaf has literally saved my life. I don't know what I would do without it, and I'm going to keep it short for you guys. I just wanted to say that, and it does need regulation. I am against the 7.0. That stuff shouldn't be on the market. But we need regulation to help pure kratom leaf consumers like myself. I would just please pass this.
Thank you for being here. Have you ever purchased a product that was bad? I mean, why do you feel there needs to be regulation on the leaf product?
Well, I feel it's not the leaf, it's the 7.0 that I know it's already been banned, but it's caused a lot of problems. I had a lot of people thinking it's kratom. And yes, it's an alkaloid, but it's not the natural kratom leaf. And to me, there's only one kratom, and that's what gets picked off the tree.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're going to have you fill out a witness slip, and thanks for coming today. With that, are there any additional proponents on this bill today? I would like to draw the members' attentions. There's a host of written testimony on your iPad. Be sure and read it. And this will conclude the second hearing of House Bill 587. And without any other business before the committee, we hereby are adjourned.